a women's environmental tribunal in Miami, where we brought women from around the world to give evidence of what was happening in terms of the joint violence against women and the earth. And out of that grew We Do. Is there anyone from We Do here?
Andrea, who's
Okay.
our
Yes, ma'am.
art coordinator for the
Yes, ma'am.
Since Andrea didn't introduce herself.
I'm sorry. I
um,
apologize.
no. Pleasure to meet you. Take my love back to We Do.
Yes, ma'am.
And really, I'm here to, to honor the memory of Bella, an outstanding person. We wrote the Women's Agenda 21, which was a very powerful document, and I think probably something like 50% of the paras of the Rio Declaration and the treaties were changed because of the way we organized the caucus, that work you all are continuing. I notice I'm the only grey-haired person around, and it's a joy. You know, there's so many movements where only grey-haired people carry on, becoming more grey-haired, and then they fade away. So the youth are here in strength. Gives our generation confidence that these movements are going to go from strength to strength. I got involved at that point in the Rio process, both because we realized we had to bring the women's perspective into this. I began my life as an environmental activist 40 years ago with CHIPCO, the very, very inspiring movement in my region where women came out and said, you'll have to kill us before you kill the trees, we're going to hug the trees. And it was the first major contemporary environmental movement. A similar thing had happened 200 years ago. 272 women had given their lives in Rajasthan to protect their sacred khejuri tree. But contemporary times, this was the first, and it shaped our environmental policies, it shaped our environmental departments. Everything was born from CHIPCO, and CHIPCO preceded Stockholm. In 1981, we got a logging ban. So not only was it the first movement, it was the first movement which had huge impact. And in these 40 years, I've been deeply, deeply involved in major ecological issues, both in our country and globally. And everywhere, it's the women who are the defenders. Bhopal tragedy, it's still the women who are fighting today. I started to focus on the issue of seed when I realized the big men wanting bigger power wanted to own life on Earth now, and I thought it was just so wrong from our perspective. I've written books like Staying Alive, for those of you who don't know me at all. And it created a whole new stream in the ecology movement called ecofeminism, where we converge feminism and ecology as one piece, one undivided piece. Because the same worldview that does violence to the earth and treats nature as dead is a worldview that treats women as a second sex. And the minute you sort of put a focus on women and the earth, you get a whole different worldview. And that's what we build in terms of thinking, but also in terms of our struggles. Began with the seed, and I'm going to give you one precious copy of our new Global Citizen Seed Report, and I'd like every one of you to go to the website of seedfreedom.in, because we fought this for 25 years in India. But in many places, these kind of laws are being now put into place. I was a guest of the Ecuadorian Constitution Court because of the rights of nature issue. And even though the government had said no GMOs in the Constitution, there's an attempt to roll that. And that's the case in place after place. For those of you who are here from the Philippines, we threw out a BT eggplant, a BT aubergine. They want to push it on you. We basically showed how something called golden rice, which would produce 634 micrograms of vitamin A, is not a solution to vitamin A deficiency. That women have knowledge of biodiversity that's rich in vitamin A, 70 times, 100 times richer. So put the biodiversity in women's hands, and we got rid of iron deficiency, we've got rid of vitamin A deficiency. So for the Filipinos, total solidarity in your fight against golden rice and BT eggplant. They wanted to introduce it in India, but we could show how the women's knowledge was a far superior alternative than a genetically modified yellow rice. The seed campaign and the seed report, you know, at the end of it, when you get to the ground, it's women who are the seed savers. And when I was in Ecuador, last minute I get a call, there's a new group formed called Daughters of Corn. Amazing peasant women, Daughters of Corn. We're not going to let our corn be patented, contaminated, and we're going to defend it in its diversity and sovereignty. We prepared this report collectively. 120 organizations, more than 100,000 have signed the Declaration for Seed Freedom. What do we mean by seed freedom? First, that biodiversity must be free to evolve. That is the Earth's freedom. Just like we need all the languages to continue to be able to maintain human expression, because with every word there's an image. And as we lose our languages, we lose imagination. In the same way, biodiversity is the expression of the earth. Our land had 200,000 rice varieties. I'm sure if you go through Asian countries, that kind of richness will be there. But women's knowledge of biodiversity in the wild, the greens that we can find and cook and enhance our nutrition. The huge danger for this biodiversity is the patenting and the genetic modification. The patenting in India has already created basically monopolies, because a monopoly with a royalty, you know, when you say I own, only these powerful corporations can say I invented the seed, I now own the seed, so you pay me a royalty. This royalty payment has pushed so many farmers into debt in India that 270,000 farmers have committed suicide, more than 250,000. It's usually the men who go to the market. The men get fooled because they never dealt with seed, the women dealt with seed. And when they get into debt, and you know, when you bring back a GM seed, a genetically modified BT cotton seed, or a non-GM seed, it looks the same. You don't see genetic modification with your eye. And 8,000% increase in seed cost. You have to buy seed every year. Our seeds are renewable. We save them year in and year out. And before you know it, farmers are in debt and they're committing suicide, leaving behind widows. So 270,000 farmers, 270,000 widows. Now without land looking after children, as landless labor in other people's fields. And Monsanto keeps cooking up these studies every once in a while. And the latest one was how BT cotton, the genetically modified cotton, has liberated women. And the study was focused on how many more women are working in cotton fields to pick cotton. That was the data. And then they said, and therefore we can assume that the men are looking after the children and cooking.
Oh my God.
The response, they said, men are dead. Then the women are having to pick cotton in other people's fields, cook for their children at probably a quarter of the income that they would have had if the farm was their own. So you get this kind of distortion all the time, all the time, all the time. For those of you here from the US, the big issue is November 6th ballot vote on the GM label. Now, if people don't know what they're eating, how on earth can you have a democracy? And yet the industry that wants to force feed us GMOs in order to collect royalties from every seed don't want labeling, because then people will say, no, I don't want GM corn, I don't want GM so on. That's the end of their selling these patented seeds. So seed freedom for us is no patents on seed, because Mr. Monsanto, you are not an inventor of life. We are co-creators of life. We work with life. So for the women's movement, especially for the women who are involved deeply in the ecological aspect of it, and biodiversity aspect of it, redefining our relationship with biodiversity and the earth on our terms is vital. And that means no patents, no ownership. Sharing, caring. That's our ethics, that's our economy. The second is new seed laws are being created. We have examples here. Germany, very huge issue. They want to collect royalties from farm-saved seed. Seeds that were never bought by the farmers, but were farmers' own. And the argument is, we have to collect royalties because we have to finance these companies to do new research for us, to give us more GMOs, to poison us more. So we have a very strong piece by the German Small Farmers Union. In 1995, when the Leipzig conference was taking place, I did a civil disobedience with a farmer from Germany called Joseph Albrecht. He had conserved, evolved, bred a beautiful seed variety of wheat, and he was sharing it with his neighbors. He got a letter saying it's illegal. You can't have your own seed. So he came and talked to me. We did a civil disobedience in the church. We said, Joseph, distribute your seeds to us, and we will write to the German government to say we've shared the seeds, and now you can take action against us. So we co-giving in this fortnight, 2nd October, Gandhi's birth anniversary to 16th October, World Food Day, which is tomorrow. We're giving a call for civil disobedience against laws that criminalize biodiversity. Mm-hmm. Because we need to liberate biodiversity. And we take inspiration from Gandhi, who, when the British said only we will make salt so we can make more money, Gandhi walked to the sea, said nature gives it for free. And we need it for our survival. We will continue to make our salt. This was called the salt satyagraha. Mm-hmm. The truth of salt, the fight for the truth of salt. Mm-hmm. And we do the seed satyagraha, the fight for the truth of seed. In this country, we managed to stop every nasty law of this kind, like the seed laws that would make our seeds illegal, mm-hmm. which in effect means making women's knowledge illegal. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot, but visit the website, seedfreedom.in. 16th October, tomorrow, is World Food Day. But do something here on 16th. Let women feed the world, not Monsanto. Generation showed very clearly that ecological issues were very much women's issues. Mm-hmm. I think your generation is facing these problems. At that time, there was an environmental destruction, mm-hmm. but the economy was booming. Yeah? Mm-hmm. And we said, you can't have this kind of cost, mm-hmm. which we pay the price of. Yeah. Now the economy is dying. Yeah. The economy as defined by patriarchal ordering. Mm-hmm. The other person who was among the founders was Marilyn Waring, of We Do. And Marilyn's written a brilliant book. I recommend each of you should read it. It's called If Women Counted. And it's basically deconstructing GDP, which now more and more people are saying this growth doesn't measure anything. Mm-hmm. It doesn't measure our well-being. So your challenge is to take what we did in terms of bringing the environment and women's movement together, mm-hmm. to now bring this economic and social justice. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And in terms of a future that works, of course, for the earth, mm-hmm. and all her species, works for women, now the challenge is works for future generations. Mm-hmm. I'm also part of a World Future Council in which we are trying to define crimes against the future, mm-hmm. future generation. Because you lose biodiversity, you've committed a crime against the future. Absolutely. You destroy economies, so 50% of the Spanish who created the Indignado movement, the precursor to the Occupy movement, 50% youth unemployed. Now what kind of economy is this? Yes. So I just feel, the economy, redefine the economy in terms of caring and sharing, mm-hmm. and women's values, and showing that that's precisely what keeps the earth alive and what will keep humanity alive. Our work was to go beyond an anthropocentric and patriarchal world. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Your work is to show that an earth-centered, women-centered economic model is the only one that will work for all.